Like and subscribe right now, or else this will be in your bed tonight. r/ask Reddit by Planet Reddit. Teachers of Reddit, what's the funniest thing you've heard a student say that you unfortunately had to punish them for? I had recess duty a few years ago. A kindergarten girl came running over with another girl right after her and said she called me the B word. When I asked the second student if she called the first student the B word, she turned to the first one and said mother ducker doesn't start with a B. I managed to turn my laugh into a cough, but yeah, no more recess for her that day. Edited to add, holy crap, my inbox has exploded overnight. I also received my first platinum, gold and silver ever, so thank you. I don't think the first girl even realized mother ducker was a swear, so she was focused on the word beach. The child is clearly gifted if she knows that mother ducker doesn't start with B at that age. A as in apple, B as in mother ducker, C as in cat, B as in bad mother ducker. That kid has been watching too much Pulp Fiction. Kid in my class was given some bad news once and exclaimed "oh shit" right on my dong. It was inappropriate, but it sounded so incredibly genuine and defeated. My English teacher, early 20s, fresh out of school, looked like she was in physical pain. Having to punish him, despite laughing uncontrollably and feeling sympathy for his situation. Laughing hysterically at 226 mthnx, from US, visiting Jordan. Thought I'd had most upvotes I've gotten so far, nerdy. From South Korea, we were learning good at, I am good at soccer, I am good at English. Teacher, she is good at ugly. Hahaha, poor girl. Good at you ain't got no alibi. Better change your name to u/Thebanet by Akid. Student, small dongs matter. Me, AJ, let's keep it school appropriate. Student, small penises matter. Couldn't help but laugh. A movement I can get in the behind. He's right though, small dongs matter. This is more of something a student did. About a month ago I hear a kid yelling my eyes are burning. I ask him what's wrong and he says that another kid sprayed him with something. I go to that kid and he hands me a bottle of Warhead spray candy and says it's just water. When I told him that water doesn't burn eyes, he replies with well, I did put salt in it. I once had a 7th grader come into class after lunch urgently telling me that she needed to go to the nurse. Her eyes were watering, and they were red and puffy. Turns out that she'd read online somewhere that you can get high by putting Vicks directly on your eyeballs. A really affluent town in Mexico had a problem years ago of kids getting drunk by pouring drops of booze in their eyes. Billboards and stuff were put up telling them to stop. Local high school had assemblies. A crazy amount of kids went blind before it was stopped. I mean, it does clear your eyes up. Teaching a class of high school seniors. They were pissed about something and wouldn't let me get a word in. Worst a-hole in the class raises his hand for probably the first time in his life. So I call on him. He says, "Thank you, Mr. L. I don't know what you're trying to tell us, but I think everyone needs to shut the duck up so you can talk." Took everything in my power not to crack up. I didn't get him in trouble. He won a place in my heart that day. Seeing students produce quality work that even they didn't know they were capable of is hugely gratifying, and my absolute favorite thing about being a teacher. Kids telling their classmates to shut the duck up so I can teach is a close second though. I always have a soft spot for the a-holes. A lot of the time they are acting up because of some other shit in their life and don't really need more of it from me. Some of them are still huge a-holes though. I really liked most of the kids who I had to discipline the most. They usually had a lot of personality. There was one boy, though, whose life did suck, but I just couldn't like him. Tried to like him, was nice to him, but found out later that he raped the girl he had been dating that year. That's inexcusable, no matter how messed up your parents are. Edit, a word. I worked at an alternative ed school for kids who were expelled from their old schools. I taught a class of 8th grade boys, so I have tons of great stories. My favorite was one day I was reading out loud from the newspaper that Old Country Buffet was closing down, and one of my students said, "Are you ducking kidding me?" while simultaneously punching a hole in the window. I laughed so hard but also had to give him detention and fill out a ton of paperwork. Edit. I'm glad this story entertained you guys. These kids were no joke. I had a full-time therapist in my room with me because it was such a liability to be alone with them. The kids had daily therapy sessions to help them deal with their anger issues, trauma, etc. Most of my students were affiliated with gangs and got in a lot of trouble for drug-related crimes. About half my kids were in detention centers before coming to my classroom, and a lot of them had ankle monitors. Old Country Buffet kid was an especially large 14-year-old. His file said he got expelled from his old school because he was very into the Twilight series and some kids made fun of him for it. So he beat the shit out of them. He did need stitches after the window incident. More please. I bet it was that kid from the Goonies. Old Country Buffet was closing down. Not going to lie, reading that gave me a bit of anxious rage. Their insults to each other have evolved. We used to call each other's mums. The other day I heard your mum smells like the coral reef when she opens her legs. Your nan is a slag and your dad touches other dads. That kid wanted to drag down the entire bloodline JFC. Just makes me think of that one episode of SpongeBob with Plankton insulting the whole family. Someone should put you in a box floating down the river, grandma. Thank you. You/Jotaro is a lolican. When attempting to explain the physics of leverage and moving a heavy thing, I said you can't move it the way the Egyptians did. Kid immediately piped you get a bunch of Jewish slaves to do it. That's historically inaccurate too. That's ducking hilarious. Hysterically inaccurate. My girlfriend is a teacher. There was a little boy in her class who was finger painting. He stops, looks at his hands and says, "Now how the duck do I get this off? Don't leave us hanging. OP. How the duck did he get it off?" I assume with small children the school used washable fingerprint. Yes, young children have to be careful or their fingerprints will wash right off. I had been painting over some Sharpie on the wall with oil paint or Kills or something similar, but the smell lingers for a long time. High schoolers start to come in for class. Girl A yells, "Why's IT stink in here?" Girl B says, "Because your mouth is open." Girl A rifles back, "Because your legs is open." R/murder Edwoods. R/murder homicide Edwoods. Mr. Clean Magic Erase sponges get Sharpie off most school surfaces that can handle some abrasive force. For larger jobs, can just get Ajax and a washcloth. Either seems easier than repainting the wall, but I guess it could have been a lot of Sharpie on a wall that needed a repainting anyway. Ms. K. How do you know if you have swamp ass? Ms. K. I would make a terrible hooker. I have bad knees. Jose. I'm gonna grab you by the nipple hair and kick your ass. All of these from the exact same class. I taught freshmen a few years ago. They had some imaginations. Edit. My first silver is a post about swamp ass and nipple hair. Here's to you. Reddit. And, how do you know if you have swamp ass? Also, what is swamp ass? Edit. I found an article talking about it, but this line will haunt me. It's highly possible that you could have swamp ass and not even know it until it's too late. What in the four hells? Terminal swamp ass? I think it's when your ass is sweaty. Overheard a grade 6 student tell a group of kids in his class that if they don't take their Viagra they wouldn't be able to please their girlfriend. It was surprising. So that's why I'm single. Never took Viagra. Be right back. Calling my doctor. Update. He's now engaged to his doctor. I actually didn't punish this kid, though I was supposed to, but I couldn't stop laughing. So, whenever my high schoolers whine about something I say, "Into every life a little rain must fall," which is my polite and deliberately annoying way of saying suck it up. By the end of the year, they're so used to it that all I have to do is say "into every life," and they roll their eyes and grumble, but at least they stop complaining. Well, one day a kid comes in my room and he's already complaining about something that hasn't even happened yet. So I say "into every life," and he says "a little rain must fall." I know, but Mrs. Danny Callie up. It's a FNG thunderstorm right now. This is golden. What did you respond with to that? In between laughter I told him I was going to pretend I hadn't heard that. I love your name. It feels like something I would name my horse. Or a cat. No offense, it's just so creative, lol. Not me but my fiance. She's a really great teacher but was having trouble with this one class. One of the students asked her, "Mrs. Teacher, do you have any kids?" Fiance, "Oh god no." Kid, "That might be for the best. Good lord, children are savage." I was teaching nutrition and garden education to second graders, really sick, all hopped up on cold medicine on a rainy day, and discussing our agrarian community. Me. Does anyone know any farmers? Kid. Yep, my uncle is a farmer. Me. Nice. What does he farm? Kid. Pot. Me. Slowly blinks. Class. Giggles. Me. Okay, we're talking fruits and vegetables here. People, does anyone else know a farmer? How about Farmer John? Do you guys know Farmer John? With the pumpkins? Babbling continues. Is it common for second graders these days to know what pot is? Well, we are in California and the school had a pretty even demographic mix of migrant farmer and surfer families. To be fair, I think the rest of the class was mostly giggling at my own drugged up reaction. But this kid definitely had some pretty progressive parents from the level of sass he normally displayed. He was also wearing a tie-dye sweatshirt when he made this comment, so I figured I probably had it coming when I called on him. Today I learned surfer families are a thing. I found my niche. This teacher has had 4 last names because of remarrying in the last 5 to 6 years. An 11-year-old student was wondering why this teacher has had so many names. 11 years old. Mrs. Have you been married before? Teacher. Yes. 11 years old. Oh. So you're a hoe? The kid honestly didn't mean it to be mean. He just thought that is what you call someone who has been married a few times. Luckily the teacher didn't take offense to it and said, well, he isn't wrong. However, his homeroom teacher wasn't as forgiving. I went through this exact thing. A teacher started off with my class married, then got divorced and went back to her maiden name for a year, then married another teacher and took his name. This was all before 7th grade. We were so confused. To be honest, I am afraid to call her by the wrong last name. I couldn't say with 100% certainty what her name is this year. I teach pre-K. The kids were out at recess and one was riding a bike wearing his helmet, as he should. One of my girls walked by and hit him over the head with our plastic baseball bat. I asked her why she did that. She replied, he has a helmet on. I had to turn away and snort before telling her it wasn't okay to hit anyone, even if they have a helmet. Literally every video game with friendly fire turned off ever. Hey, miss, will you touch my weenus? Standing there in silent shock, student slowly bends elbow and points to it. Weenus. This was the day I learned what a weenus is. Apparently, they had just come from biology. Ended up not really formally punishing the kid. It was, in fact, a weenus. But I did need a minute to control the laughter before I could teach again. We had a conversation about what appropriateness and context are after class. I said this to a friend once and a teacher overheard me and I got in trouble. Now they think you have the G. Literally shaking and crying RN. I am a teacher, but the funniest punishment I know of was not for one of my students. It was for my son. My son is the quietest kid I have ever met. He gets extremely anxious. When he was 4, his grandfather died unexpectedly and he got even quieter. For years, he did not generally talk with schoolmates or ever ask adults, besides me, for help. I had to explain this to his new teachers every year. By the time he was 8, it was routine to go to parent-teacher conferences and have teachers share he was a good student, but they wished he would talk more. I went to a conference with his 2nd grade teacher and she said, I need to tell you, your son got in trouble for talking to friends in class today. I asked him to stop and he still disrupted the class, so I had to put his name on the board. When you get home, will you tell him how proud I am of him and give him a high five? We had one of the best times ever at family dinner that night. I'd say the same thing. Good to hear that he worked his way through his anxiety. This was so endearing to hear. Thank you for that. Join our community Discord, link in description. Teaching 1st grade and a kid came up to me and said, Miss, he just said something bad, so I walk over to E and ask if he said something inappropriate. He shrugs, looks sheepish and says I said cows are big boobies. I literally paused with my mouth open. Was not expecting that one. Once at my brother's school, what does the pig give us? Pork. What does the hen give us? Egg. What does the cow give us? Bullshit. A friend of mine teaches 1st grade. One day her class was watching Hercules, and during the scene where Hades is smoking a cigar, a kid shouts, "Miss, he's smoking a fat blunt." I can't imagine trying to keep a straight face when she had to tell her that she can't say that kind of stuff in school. This one made me laugh out loud. The fat part makes it work. I taught literacy for an after-school program, K6, and it seemed like those kids had too many funny but inappropriate moments. One of my favorites, "Come on beaches." First grade girl to her classmates as they walk down the hall. Last week, I joking told one of my grade 8 students that he better behave because Santa was watching. He strolled away saying nonchalantly, "Santa, my ass." I cracked up. One of our students, learning disabled, dumped a glass of water on another student, also learning disabled. "Because we don't have time for naps today, we have to watch a movie." I cried real tears under my desk because I could not stop laughing. Not a teacher, but my mom is. At a private Catholic elementary school during mass, a 4th grade boy was giving the sign of peace, shaking hands with those around him and saying "peace" or "peace be with you," and instead of saying peace he was muttering penis under his breath. He got a detention, but she said it was pretty funny and they all laughed about it later. When I was a kid I used to say "may the force be with you" at mass. And also with you. I have to almost physically stop myself from responding with "and also with you." During our outside time, one student told multiple others that Ms. T is humping on somebody's mama. I have a hard time making the time for that with my own husband, much less somebody else's mom. It killed me to keep a straight face. I had them call their parent and repeat it because there was no way I could without giggling. This makes no sense, yet all the sense. Kid was doodling on the whiteboard at the front of the class and I told him to cut it out because he was going to waste the marker. It was the end of the year and I didn't want to have to buy more. He grins and then says, "But it's just the tip." And then another student yelled out, "That's what she said." I tried so hard to keep a straight face and failed so badly. Absolute legend. Not a teacher, wayward parent of an equally wayward 4-year-old. I received a call from the VP of my daughter's school one day while I was at work. I could tell the VP was holding back her laughter, but she tried to remain professional. "Hello, your daughter acted out in class today. The children were switching from coloring to reading at the carpet. She threw her crayons down and pointedly said to the teacher, 'Are you ducking kidding me?' My knee-jerk reaction was, 'Damn it. Are you ducking kidding me?' It is clear where she learned this from. My second thought was, damn. I have a kid in junior kindergarten that knows how to use that phrase in a correct form. The following year, the VP is no longer at the school. We attend similar social group and talk often. She loves to tell me that making that phone call was one of the funniest calls she has had to make as an educator. That's ducking incredible. My mom was an elementary teacher and always had a few good ones share. One that stands out in my head is a story about a bus ride on a field trip. Her 2nd grade students started playing some music. At one point, they started singing along and my mom got really excited because they were spelling. Their spelling. That's so great. It took her a moment to realize what they were spelling. An entire bus filled with 7 and 8-year-olds was rolling down the road with about 40 little voices singing. "'Cause I'm a methodic in P.I.M.P. Edit. Oh. My first silver. Thank you. I'll have to tell my mom that her spelling story was a hit. That hilarious mental image is one that I can't unsee, and I don't want to unsee it. I was covering for a teacher named Kathy, late in her pregnancy and due for maternity anytime, who had just stepped out for a few minutes. While I was sitting next to this one 6-year-old, Wiley, we noticed that one bench among all of the others was deformed in its construction. Wiley, whoa. What happened to this bench? Me. I don't know, Wiley. What do you think happened to this bench? Hoping he'll see the difference in construction. Wiley. It probably broke because Kathy sat on it since she gained a lot of weight. Me. He did see the difference in construction. So mission accomplished. An 8th grade student once told me, "You look like the kind of girl who'd be friends with the lunch ladies." That's either an insult or a compliment and I can't tell which. Compliment. Get extra food and the good food too. Source. I'm friends with lunch ladies. Well, are you? This was from a friend teaching 2nd grade. Kid, Miss O. There's a bad word written in the bathroom. Teacher, what's the word? Kid, it's so bad. I can't tell you. Teacher, it's okay. You can tell the teacher. Kid, oh no, I can't say that word, but I'll give you a hint. It starts with S and rhymes with duck. Teacher, dot. SUCC. I got pages to this thread, so here we go. I teach in a rural school district in Wisconsin. The kid in question was a self-proclaimed redneck and proud of it. He also never swore in front of me, because it was impolite. I overheard him sometimes, but he was careful to watch his language around me. One day, he tries to sell me sunglasses for a fundraiser, but I wasn't interested. I have prescription sunglasses, so I had no interest in putting cheap sunglasses over my regular glasses. He kept pressing me, telling me that if I wore my sunglasses to a music festival that happened not too far from us, the guys would be all over me. Upon informing him that I was engaged at the time, the first words out of his mouth were, "I ain't seen a ring yet that can plug a hole." There was a pause, then a look of horror crossed his face. Oh my god, I just said that to a teacher. He covered his head and said to me in this quiet, pleading voice, "Please don't tell my mom." I didn't. I had to have a talk with him and documented it in our system as a minor infraction for inappropriate language, but never called his mom or sought punishment. His reaction was worth it. R/instant regret. I teach non-native English speakers at the college level, so they don't get in trouble for misspeaking, but there are often hilarious utterances. Two of my favorites. Student asking for a sheet of paper. "Can I have a piece of sheet?" Walking in well after class had started. "Sorry, teacher, I got laid." "What? Sorry for getting late to class." "Oh, I thought you said." I also teach ESL. The other day a kid drew a picture of a Christmas tree with a banner over it that said Satan. It was so enthusiastic and hilarious, I couldn't even correct him. You can't count past 13 because of your speech impediment. Jesus Christ. Ducking roast the child. I needed that today. Bless you. I think the sweetest part is he hugged you and apologized. It is very telling when a kindergartner wants to crawl in your lap and snuggle after throwing a fit. We were doing reward points at the end of the day. It was a behavioral school. One of our first graders sitting in the front row kept rolling a sheet of printer paper into a tube despite being reminded to put it away. When he was called to be ready to get his backpack in the hallway, he blew into the paper tube horn as loud as possible. I'd never seen him so happy to get a timeout. Not a teacher. My 10-year-old son was hit in the face by a girl, and instead of physical retaliation, boys don't hit girls, he asked her if she scraped her knees when she crawled out of hell. Hard to keep a straight face in that parent-teacher meeting. My friend told me this story. We're both teachers in South Korea. She was teaching 6th 5th grade kids the song "Marry You" for an English performance her school was putting on. Her Korean co-teacher thought it would be super cute if the boys held bouquets, got down on one knee, and proposed to the girls at the end of the performance. One boy exclaimed, "What the duck?" My friend died laughing. That is honestly a terrible idea, and I would have said the same. English teacher here. Taught at a coastal school a few years ago that was incredibly isolated and therefore a little behind the times in terms of acceptable conduct. Anyway, I had a bottom of the barrel 10th grade class with around 8 students in. One day a student stops by to deliver a message from another teacher, and this cheeky but affable kid in my class who knows the visiting student says, Jack, what do you call a gay dinosaur?" "I don't know. Megasaur ass." It was wholly inappropriate, moderately homophobic, and I ended up sending him out and giving him a detention. But I was struggling to keep my shit together after he said it. It's not homophobic though, he just made a joke. Doesn't mean he dislikes gay people for being gay. Can confirm, I'm a gay man and I laughed. Hey, what do you call a lesbian dinosaur? A leucolotopus. Not a teacher, but in 6th grade I remember one of my classmates who was a wannabe gangster, although super funny, get annoyed that our teacher was handing out papers with a new assignment on them. When she got to him he said, "Don't give me that sheet." Everyone lost it, including the teacher, but he still got detention for it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for 3 videos a day.